Hey everyone, welcome to the Derick Leg Podcast. Thanks for joining us in the vault. I need to start calling it the vault. When we started this, Mallory and I decided that's what our recording studio would be called. So this is the vault, as you can see on our TV screen behind us. I've got a guest today that I feel like I told him when I greeted him today that I feel like he's a legend because I hear about him all the time and his name gets thrown around in the business that we're both in the firearm business and the hunting business, but I've never face-to-face met him. I've seen him on podcasts. I follow him on all of his social medias. So anyway, this is Brandon Neal. How's it going, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you agreed to do this, and thanks Mallory for setting it up. She kind of had the connection.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me. Good to be here with you.
Yeah, this will be fun. This will be fun for me. Selfishly, like I was telling you, there's a lot of things I want to talk about that's more for me, but I hope someone gets something out of it.
No, for sure. Yeah, always, right? Yeah, definitely.
So I know a handful about you, as stalkerish as that sounds, but
yeah,
give me like a couple minute quick rundown. I know Northern Utah, LDS,
Yep.
all that. So maybe just give us a quick rundown.
Yeah, I grew up in Sandy, Utah. That's where my wife and I actually both grew up. We grew up in the same neighborhood.
Okay.
In fact, we grew up a block away from each other. So we were in the same ward boundaries. For those who are LDS, same ward actually.
Sure.
So grew up there and went to Alta High School and went on a church mission. Went to New Jersey for that.
English speaking?
English speaking.
Okay.
Yep. I was in Cherry Hill Mission in 97 to 99 and came back from that, started dating my wife. We actually started writing when I was on my mission. She's 3 years younger than me. So
Okay.
Before we knew each other, because she was friends with my younger sister and then I was friends with her older two sisters through high school. And came back, started dating, got married 9 months after I got home. So September of 2000. In fact, we just celebrated our anniversary this last weekend, 21 years.
Yeah, congrats.
So thanks.
That's cool.
So we did that, and then we started a business up there. We actually initially, when we were newly married, trying to figure out what the heck we were going to do for career-wise. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was kind of scrambling, and I'd always done construction through high school and worked with my cousin who was a general contractor. He was really successful, and I thought, gosh, it's not a bad way to go. I might want to do that. So that was kind of one of the options. In fact, I was working for him when we got married, and just thinking about possibly getting my general contractor license at that point. Also had some successful, like a successful uncle and cousins that were in real estate that have done really well.
So you were exposed to that most of your life?
I was, fortunately. I had that
Okay.
that side of my family had some, just some people that were super hardworking, ambitious, made very good income, over time.
Sure.
And then my dad was an electrician, well, not actually a lineman for the power company, and he actually just recently retired. But I saw him work real hard, and linemen make good incomes for a job. They do pretty well.
Yeah, they're 80 to 100 hours, and every time the power goes down.
Yeah. They get on overtime, double time
Sure.
and a half, and all kinds of crazy stuff, right? So he took advantage of that. I watched him work hard, and I saw that. I saw how important hard work was, and was really taught that.
Yeah, and you were aware of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so. I mean, when I first started working, when I was just in middle school, I'd go work construction in the summertime, and gosh, I was probably 12, 13 years old when I started working for my cousin initially. And my dad would, I remember the first day he dropped me off to go to work. He dropped me off on the way to work for him, and I couldn't drive, so he just dropped me off at the job site. So I'll come back and get you when the day's over, and I got 10 hours ahead of me.
Yeah.
So I was thrown into it early on, and I remember those first couple of days how brutal they seemed. But he just said, "Look, just be the hardest working guy on the job," and so I did that.
Yeah.
And my cousin would tell my uncle, who he worked with in real estate a lot because he helped him sell a lot of his houses.
Sure.
He said, "Brandon's my hardest working guy," and I'm this teenager,
Right.
But I don't know, I wore that as a badge of honor, and that was my big lesson: always outwork everybody. So I did that. I mean, I did that, and so anyway, to fast forward back to when we got back to St. George, we actually moved down to St. George after we got married. So we got married in Salt Lake, moved here in 2003.
Okay.
And one of the reasons I moved, actually the reason I moved, is when I was in Salt Lake, my wife and I were both working for Discover Card credit card company. This was after my mission and everything. So I was working construction and working at Discover Card. Coworker of mine introduced me to this financial company that was expanding and growing, and I went and took a look at it and brought my wife to check it out. And we looked at it and we go, this is it. This is what we've been looking for. It was kind of the answer to everything. You could build it as big as you wanted to, help people financially, help them get out of debts, protect their families, save for their
insurances,
future.
all that too.
Insurances, mutual funds, yep, mortgages. And so it intrigued me. I thought it was really cool. I'd never been taught any of those principles.
Mm-hmm.
So she said, yeah, let's do it. So we got started with that company in Sandy, Utah. And then what happened was my uncle had a tile business here in St. George, and I came down here to set up his tile business on a retirement plan, just a simple IRA. And he had, 8 or 9 employees. So I did all of their IRAs and did all their insurances, and then I started getting some referrals. And while I was down here, I had somebody from the same company I was in move here from California, and it was referred to me while I was down here. I met him and started training him. My initial intention was to stay in Sandy, train him to work down here. But he was busy. He had a job too, and he was working his job and just doing it part-time. And I started hiring some other agents here locally in St. George, and he just couldn't keep up with it. So I started coming down about every week. And pretty soon I went to my wife. I go, hey, what if we moved to St. George? She's like, what? Both our families are there. She didn't want to leave, but I talked her into it. I said, just 5 years, 5 years, we'll come back.
Yeah.
So we did. We moved down here and just started our business and just did. The reason why a lot of people, well, you've probably heard of me a lot too, is a lot of people know me from that era.
Yeah.
Because all I did was work. I was constantly meeting new people. I was in a lot of people's houses doing financial plans across the kitchen table with husband and wife, and just met a lot of people.
And we're talking like as a 22-year-old kid.
22, 23, 24. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, and I just, I didn't look at myself as 22, 23, 24. I was being mentored by guys that were mid-30s and mid-40s, and I just did everything they taught me to do. I paid attention to how they acted, how they thought, and then I was just very coachable.
Yeah.
And put in the time. And
so, you had a lot of influence and mentors to be able to do that you could watch.
Yeah.
I want to ask you too, with sitting there next to, your 30, 40-year-olds in your mid-20s, what was that when they're looking at you thinking this 22-year-old's telling me how to get life insurance or how to invest or?
Yeah, no, I knew that was on their minds.
Sure.
So what I would do is I would just call the elephant out in the room when I sat down with them. I go, hey, look, I know I'm a young guy. I'm 23 years old, 22, 24 years old. And, but I want to show you what I do. I'm licensed. I'm trained to do this. And, anything that we do, people that have been in the industry 20, 30 years are going to be the ones taking care of any of the investments and stuff you do anyway. So I'm here to present it to you, show you how it all works. If it makes sense to you and I can improve upon your current situation, would you be open to switching and doing business with me?
I like that.
So I just called it out. I know I'm young, but I'm going to show you, pay attention to the message I'm going to show you.
Yeah.
And if it makes sense, go ahead. And if it doesn't, that's okay.
Give me 5 minutes.
I got to get better.
Yeah. That's awesome. And
that's why I looked at it. If they didn't want to go ahead with me, maybe they were, it was really rare because I don't know, I recognized, and I would say if anybody who's starting a business for the first time, if you learn the basic principles of your business and you believe in it, like in this example was financial services. People didn't know the rule of 72 when it came to investing, or the difference between term insurance and cash value insurance, or how mortgages work. They didn't understand that stuff. So I kind of knew that even if they were in their mid-30s or 40s, a lot of times they didn't even have insurance.
Sure.
They weren't investing in mutual funds, or they didn't have IRAs. So I already knew more than they knew. So I knew that I knew that age didn't equal knowledge.
Exactly.
Necessarily.
That's
right?
kind of what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
Is like, just because you're younger doesn't mean you don't know. And I didn't get life insurance till, I'm 32. So 2 years ago.
Yeah. And
I signed my wife and I up.
Good.
My dad had died and didn't have any. And then we had a really, really close family friend that had died and left 4 kids and didn't have any. And that was enough for me. Yeah. And we were trying to get pregnant. And so I was like, if I want something there. If something happens to me, I don't want my kid to have to bury me with his money, or if he needs to take some time off of work because his mom passes away, that he'll be financially set to do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate that, you know, people pass away for us to have to witness those things. However, the positive of it is you saw that firsthand where, you know, a lot of, especially younger people, they go, I'm not going to die for 20, 30 years. And it's like, you're going to die. Now, you just don't know when. You know,
that is the guarantee.
Yeah, it's probably going to be later, but in case it's not, you know, we just don't. I mean, just look at, you know, people texting and driving today alone. I think that's, you know,
sure,
one of the greatest risks we have of dying these days is something like that. Driving, yeah, because people are distracted.
It's not COVID. It's driving.
I don't think it's COVID. I'm pretty sure.
That was a big eye-opening thing for me with insurance, because like insurance for me is you pay car insurance because you have to, and so I'd never thought of. Well, even my insurance guy that does all my insurance, I called him and I'm like, okay, dude, what's the deal? What's this life insurance stuff about? Why do I need it? What's the benefit? And he ran me through it all. And that's what you were doing at 22 years old to these families.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great. I just happened to be introduced to it. You know,
I
was at Discover Card one day and a coworker introduced me, says, come look at this company. It's in insurance and investments. And I went down to a group meeting and just saw the principles of it all. I go, how come no one's ever taught me this? This makes total sense. Yeah. And I was still 22. I didn't really understand life insurance, why I would need it. Mm-hmm. I remember calling my mom going, do I need life insurance? She goes, yeah, you should probably get a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and reality is you might as well get what you need when you're young, because it's inexpensive. And yeah, I mean, we didn't have any kids at the time, but you never know, right? Your wife could be pregnant. You don't know. And yeah. You know, something happens to you. Now your wife's stuck with a baby without that income, you know.
Exactly.
That income ends. So it's income protection.
So even with your close family members and people having wealth, if you want to call it that, you still, all of that stuff was never explained to you?
No.
Okay.
And you know, like my parents, you know, they were good. I wouldn't say wealthy, but they were high middle class, you know, upper middle class. And that was over time. I remember when I was young, they were dirt poor, you know, super broke. I mean, my dad was paycheck to paycheck, just started with power companies alignment, and it was really tight, you know. I mean, it was later on my teenage years and after my mission when they, you know, they had some money saved, and you know, we got a boat and stuff when I was middle school, and so we, you know, that's more than most ever have, right? And so we had a good childhood. We had things were provided for us. We had everything we needed and more.
And how many siblings?
I've got a younger sister and a younger brother.
So you're the oldest?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
When you were talking about dad dropping you off at the site, I'm like, you must be the oldest.
Yeah. Yeah. See you in 8 or 10 hours.
Yeah. That's what my dad would have done with my oldest brother too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. And I remember those first few days were just brutal, you know, and then you kind of work into it after a few days. You go, this is the way it's going to be all summer. You know? And it felt good after you got into it. You worked hard and you came home and you're like, I accomplished something.
Yeah, for sure.
Builds your confidence, and it builds your, I guess, your belief in what you're capable of. Yeah.
So how long were you in the Primerica part before you sold?
Yeah. So what I did is when we got to St. George and we were here, I mean, when my wife Lexi moved down with me, initially she was going to get a job to kind of help things get going, because I was still just getting it going, you know?
Yeah.
And first year in the business, we made $20,000 in income. Second year, really kind of hit it more full time. And that was the year I go, hey, instead of getting a job, just come and help me in the office and do all the paperwork stuff, file all of our stuff. So she became our office manager and just did all the administrative stuff, which was huge. And so I could focus 100% on hiring and training new agents, seeing clients. That's all I did. Any paperwork stuff, pass it on to her.
Well, she was probably more important. We should have had her in here.
Yeah, there's no question. No doubt about that. So we went from $20,000 to $100,000 our second year. Is 23, 24 years old.
Is that gross?
6-figure income.
What is that?
So that was our income. Yeah,
wow.
That was my
okay.
Gross
I figured
income.
You were saying it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. And then third year made 183, then 280, 330, 660, and then we were over 7 figures by the time I was in the business for 7 years. So I was 29, Lexi was 26. And so we were having a lot of success. We were the youngest. Our company at that time was 28, 29 years old. And we were the first couple ever to earn over $1 million a year below the age of 30. So we kind of set that record in the company. And so that was 2008. And then, so I was in the business exactly 20 years So I just sold it this last December, January.
Oh, so recently.
Got it all finalized. So 20 years in that business, and I never thought I'd sell it, to be honest. It's a good business, and it was a really good cash flow. But what had happened was one of my top guys, Jeff Fieldstead, he sold his agency, and I called him. I go, dude, what are you doing? He goes, you sick or something? He goes, no. He goes, I just, it's kind of just time for the next step, next phase of my life. He actually wanted to go and do some sailing down in the Caribbean.
Oh, okay.
He actually went down and bought a boat. In fact, he's been doing that.
That's cool. Captain.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, the guy that bought his business is in our same company.
Yeah.
He called me, hey, I'm excited to work with you, and he's a stud. He's Mario Arizon is his name, and just is crushing it still to this day. And he called me and goes, hey, excited to work with you. And I thought, man, he's going to be, I get to override this Mario Arizon now, because he's going to take over Jeff Fieldstead's business. And I kind of joked with him. I just said, hey, maybe I'll say mine too, kind of joking. And he goes, name your number. I go, really? He goes, yeah. So I did, and he goes, done. I go, no. I go, really? He goes, yeah, done.
Dang.
I go, let me talk to my wife. So I go talk to her. I go, should we sell? She goes, hell yeah. I go, okay.
You gave him the number.
Yeah. So we did it. We made it happen. Yeah.
That's cool. So off of that, I mean, I know you're moving on to other things, and we'll talk about that too.
Yeah.
But that financially, I mean, you guys would be good for a few years,
the
rest of your life. I mean,
it's a buyout, so it's a multiple year buyout, and it's
so you're just getting payments.
As long as we're not stupid, we're set financially that way, which is really nice. So it was really good for that.
So going through that, not being set up for an exit strategy, and within a couple of days, you were exited.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I think we actually came to an agreement in October, and it was done January.
Okay.
Yeah, we finalized it in January.
Cool. And then you're moving on now. Well, so were you doing Rolling Bones and that at the same time?
Yeah. So with
that's a big undertaking.
Yeah. It's so the way that all came about is one of my friends in my financial company, him and I, he's in a different organization, but he and I helped each other build our agencies over the last, the 20 years I was in there. And we both love to hunt, and we would talk about, man, we got to do something in the hunting world, find a way to make money at it, and be the best of both worlds, right? Be able to hunt and make money and build a business. So back in 2012, 13, right in there, we kind of started coming up with Rolling Bones. Actually, what happened with him is he went on an antelope hunt. His name's Brian Mayman, so he's still with the firm I was with before.
Okay.
But he went on an antelope hunt in Gillette, Wyoming. And they got done early. They killed an antelope, and he's with the outfitter that he was with. They go get breakfast. And the outfitter goes, man, I really like your financial business you're in. It sounds really good. Do you want to come out and help me build an office here? I'd love to work with you. And Brian goes, I don't really want to open up a financial branch here in Gillette, Wyoming. The guy goes, well, what about like doing this in the hunting industry? And Brian goes, yeah, what would you call it? And the guy goes, I call it Rolling Bones. He goes, why would you call it Rolling Bones? He goes, because when you shoot something, the bones fall down and roll down the hill, right? Was his idea. And he goes, okay, well, how would you do it, right? And so that's kind of where it all started.
Really?
Yeah.
So restaurant on a napkin type of thing.
It was. It was exactly what. In fact, he still has the napkin. He drew our logo, the Rolling Bones logo, on a napkin.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and still has that today. So
that's funny. I was just putting an analogy to it.
Seriously. So, and we saw such a big need for when people would book a hunt. A lot of times they book a hunt, they end up on the hunt, and there's a lot of surprises. So, today they probably go to Google, for example, and we have a phrase, don't get Googled, because there's so many horror stories. People go spend thousands of dollars,
right?
Their hard-earned money. And outfitters, a lot of them will tell them kind of whatever they got to tell them to get them to get in their camp. They show up in their camp. The hunt's a disaster.
Not what you signed up for.
Not what you signed up for. Yeah, maybe it's the animals aren't there. They said that were there. Maybe it's not, the accommodations aren't what they said they were. Maybe the guides aren't seasoned or know what they're doing. So we saw that. And we ourselves had been hunting with a bunch of different outfitters as well. We do a lot of do-it-yourself stuff too, but we also did a lot of guided type stuff. And so we had quite a bit of experience seeing all of that. And so we already had quite a few outfitters that we could book for. So we originally started with a booking service and kind of came up with we match the hunter to the hunt type concept. And and we still have that today.
Yeah.
So, but what we do is we go out, and all the hunts we have now, we've got probably, now we got a lot of hunts, maybe close to 4,000 hunts right now.
Wow.
They're all vetted. So we've been to the camps. We know what they are. And we got them priced where they need to be priced. And so somebody comes to us. And so if Derick Legg comes to me and says, hey, Brandon, I want to hunt an elk in 2022. I'm going to sit down with you. We're going to pull up a dashboard. We invested a bunch of money in a software.
Right. And it's cool. I've been through all of that.
Yeah, because you're a member, right?
Yeah.
And so I get you on there, and I go, okay, you want to hunt your elk? And I do a hunt plan with you. And just like if you were looking for a used car, you go through and put in all the criteria of all the stuff you're looking for your car. You do the same thing for your hunt. So I want to hunt an elk. I want to look for a 350-inch bull. I want to hunt rifle. I want to do a landowner tag opportunity or draw, whatever I can get. Put in your budget. My budget's $5,000 to $12,000, let's say. You just lodging preferences, food preferences, physical conditions, who you want to hunt with. We submit that hunt plan, and then it goes out and it collects the hunts that match your hunt plan. So it might pull up, let's say, 8 or 10 hunts that match that. It just
filters
plan.
It all.
It does, yep. Now you got 8 or 10 hunts you can look at and go, hey, here's this one for 6,100. Let's see what it's about. Here's one for 7,000. Here's one for 5,000. You can just start looking through them, and then you can get us on the phone with you too and really help you dial it in.
And that's part of the membership. So once you get your membership, you get that. And at that point, like, that's almost priceless. Like all the time you're going to save going through all of that.
And you know when you spend your money, you're going to get what you pay for, right? And it's a big deal. I mean, so a couple of things that I'll just give you some examples of why it's so big. So like this last year, well, not this year actually, in June, I went on a bison hunt up in Kodiak, Alaska.
Yeah, I saw your skull, your mount, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So this is the first time anyone's ever done this hunt up there. What it is there's a herd of bison up there, and they're free range bison, and they're kind of controlled by the natives.
Okay.
So there's no tag availability or anything. Like, you can't go buy a tag and hunt bison up there. This is a native land type hunt on Kodiak Island. So no one really knows about it. They don't have the connections. Well, the reason we have a connection is because one of our outfitters up there, we hunt blacktail deer with him, and Kodiak brown bear and black bear and fox with him, and goat. He does goat as well and all that. And he lives on Kodiak Island. And he put together this deal with the natives. They want to kill 8 to 10 bull bison out of their herd every year just to keep the herd healthy.
Sure.
And there were 2 of them that kind of went rogue and crossed a river. They're actually on Sikadilek Island, I think is how you say it, which is right across from Kodiak. 2 bulls swam across the channel, and we're right on Kodiak. And they're old bulls. We want to get them killed. So he called us, says, hey, we could do bison hunts every year. Here's what it would entail. So I was the first one in that camp to kind of test it out.
That's
right?
cool.
And I went in June, and so I go up there and I find out that June's probably not the best time to go. Normally the weather would be fine, but I ended up getting rained in for 5 days before I get out and hunt. And that's just part of the deal.
Yeah, that's
sometimes.
Too bad.
But
you're on a bison hunt.
But
in Alaska.
That 6th day was awesome, and we used helicopters on this one, which normally can't use helicopters. But so I learned all this stuff. Right, you can go up to Alaska, Kodiak Island. And if the weather's good, probably get in and out in a few days, kill a nice bison, free range wild bull bison. And I actually was able to harvest 2 of them. And,
dang, that's cool.
Fed the village, and
So is that what happened? That's what I was going to ask. With the meat, does it stay there?
Yeah, so they let you take some of it, but they keep the majority of the meat. That's kind of the deal.
And then they send home your whatever taxidermy you want to do. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. But I'm up there and I'm going, okay, when we book hunters in there, we're not going to book them in June because the vegetation's so thick. I could have easily, we just happened to find these luckily because they would happen to be in an opening. We could see them. But if they were in the brush, it's just so thick in June. It's thick in the fall too, but we would send somebody in the fall or early spring, if we were to send them up there. So, we learn that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And that's your vetting. You guys are putting all that down on the information.
Yep.
Talking to the guy. Well, and you already have a relationship with the guide, so that was pretty much already crossed off.
So we know the guide's personality. We know our members' personality. So I'm getting to know you better. So if I were to book a hunt for Derick Lake,
you'd be like one with a 4-wheeler, not that you have to hike.
well, and even just personality matches, right? Yeah. So if I could match you with an outfitter that you're going to probably get along with, that's important too, right? You enjoy your hunt more.
That's something you wouldn't think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have another example. So my partner, Brian, I think I lost track on how we even started this.
I know. That's how it happens.
But anyway, he and I, we kind of started this whole deal. And then our other partner, Brad, he's owner as well. But Brian, he just went on a sheep hunt in, I guess it was the second week of August. It was the second hunt in there. And he went to a camp that we've sent other hunters in the last 2 years, and we've been 100% for success as far as killing good rams, good Dall sheep. Well, he went in there this year just to kind of check it out and see how things are going. And he went up for 10 days, saw one ram that wasn't a legal ram, and just the winter kill has just been so bad. There's just not a lot of sheep right now. So he comes back and finds out that winter kill was really bad. And the thing is, we got 3 other hunters that are booked in there for next year. Well, we're not going to send them to that camp because we found that out.
Yeah.
That's priceless.
Right.
So we're going to send them to another camp where the sheep are still there.
Yeah.
So.
And you guys have control of all of that. So that's awesome.
Exactly. So, you're going to spend $25,000, $30,000 on a sheep hunt. You don't want to be, whereas a lot of companies, they would just say, hey, you paid for it, you're going.
Yeah, that's your date.
That's hunting.
Yeah.
And
that's hunting.
And it is hunting, but we want to give people a great experience and the highest chance of success possible in every hunt.
Yeah.
So anyway, those are the needs that we saw needed to be met, and we've just worked hard with the technology, with our software, to vetting the outfitters. We've put all that together.
And then what's the part, because we've looked into it with Weapon X holsters a little bit.
Yep.
On doing the product side of your guys' membership.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's a big plus if someone wanted to sign up as well.
It's huge, yeah. So we have all of our gear, like Kenetrek and King's Camo and Big Frig coolers, Leopold, I guess you call it Loopold is how they like you to say it. But anyway, yeah, so members get member pricing on all the products and all the gears. We're adding new gear all the time. And you get all that member pricing on that, and that's nice.
Yeah.
Save you some money there.
Because Brandon Armstrong first brought me into it and opened my eyes to Rolling Bones, and I had heard of it. It's funny because I had heard Brandon is a partner in it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so then I was like, oh, Brandon Armstrong's a partner in it.
Yes.
And I went down this whole road, and then I was like, found out that you were the Brandon that I'd heard of, not him.
Right. So yeah, I'm one of the owners, and then Brandon's one of our advisors.
Yeah.
But what's cool is we are currently revamping our model right now. It's really cool. What we're doing is we're going to do a true agency model. And we've kind of done a hybrid of that the last couple of years, and we're growing. I think we're up about 5 times this year over last year, which is really good. But we really want to just, we'd like to have 1,000 branch locations nationwide with advisors, that run their own little shops.
Yeah.
So we're basically going to do you buy in, you get everything for cost, all the hunts, you got a business in a box. You buy in. We're going to do 15. Right now, we're just going to do 15 of them. It's only going to be $20,000. And then $250 a month to service it. And people can either just run it all online, or if they want to open up a little shop, they can get all their camo, all their gear, all that stuff for cost, resell it. They can hire advisors within their branch. It's really cool. They can add their own product on there in addition to our products if they want. They can add their own hunts and adventures. So we're super excited about that as we're putting that together.
Are you guys nationwide?
Yeah, we're nationwide.
Are you worldwide?
Not yet. We had somebody in, I think it was it France? Somebody in Europe, might not have been France, that wanted to buy one.
Oh, really?
I want to do one of these over here. So we're looking into that. There's international
Well,
laws
then even
and
like Canada and stuff. Are you in Canada
so,
at all?
Yeah, we book hunts worldwide.
Okay.
So hunts we have all over. We do a lot of Asian hunts, a ton of Canada hunts. Yes.
And the border thing, is that messing you up? Because that messed me up for bear this year.
It did. Now you can go if you're vaccinated. So the people
still can't go.
Yeah, that's how I am, right? But there's a lot that are vaccinated, and we've been sending guys up. The hunts are good right now up there because they weren't hunted as much last year. Just the locals hunted, but they didn't have all the other people. So there's some big mature animals up there, and we've had a couple guys get some really good stone sheep the last couple weeks, and nice ones.
That's cool.
And we got some killer deals on elk and moose and mountain goat. But
Gosh,
yeah,
I have to pull it back up and look at it.
You got to be vaccinated. That's the only bad part.
I know.
So
I have a problem with it too.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get this into a COVID conversation.
Yeah. But it's fun. I mean, then like next month in October, I'm going to head down to Mexico, not New Mexico, Old Mexico, to hunt elk.
The original.
Yeah. And, I didn't even realize there was elk down there.
That's what I was going to say. I didn't know there was.
So they've been raising them down there the last 8 to 10 years. Same thing, they're free range elk. And so they're raising them and then letting them out. And there's some big bulls down there. So we're going to go down with a couple guys and vet that place. And I think it'll be another good option for guys to go down if they want to go hunt trophy elk. Because elk hunts are tough to come by right now.
Well, if you need someone to open your doors and carry your bags, this guy.
You're the guy? Okay, good. Good.
You let me know.
All right, sounds good.
We'll just shut the safe store down for a week.
Awesome. Do you run that place? Is that just you that runs that? Or do you?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm alone at the safe store now. I've had a couple employees in and out. Well, I shouldn't say alone. I've got a high school kid that helps me Saturdays. He's playing football, so
okay.
He's there. He's school, football, yes. And then he plays Fridays and Saturdays. He's at the store.
Cool.
Abe Gardner. Yeah. Shout him out. Thanks, okay. Abe.
All right, good. Good job, Abe.
And other than that, it's me. So I run safes out of there. We have the big showroom with safes. We do holsters in the back room. So when I don't have a customer in with safes, I'm usually in the back building holsters. And then my mom and I started a little like an overstock liquidation type resale business that we kind of do at the same location because I have storage and I have the forklift and I have all that stuff.
Cool.
So we started doing pallets and now we're doing semi truckloads.
Really?
So it's been kind of a fun thing. And then, awesome. I get my mom around and I'm a mama's boy. So
awesome.
So it kind of helps.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Now you're married, a couple kids.
Yeah. I got 4 kids.
4 kids.
Yep.
And is your wife just mom now, or is she helping you with stuff?
Yeah, so she when we had our first was a daughter. She's 15 now, but when we had her, she stayed home and has been able to be mom.
That's awesome.
Full time ever since. So that's what she does, and she loves the hunting stuff too. She doesn't hunt herself, but she's all supportive, loves it.
That's important. For hunters.
It is. It is. I'm trying to get my daughters to be a little more interested, but my thing is my 2 oldest are girls. 2 youngest are boys. The boys have a little more interest in it,
Yeah.
That's not always the case sometimes, but I've taken my daughters out a few times, but my youngest, who's only 5, he always wants to go.
He's like, Dad, let's roll.
Yeah, but he's so little, so it's just tough to get him out.
We probably can't carry those suitcases, so if you still need me,
I
know he probably can't go.
Exactly. I'll take you instead.
There you go.
Exactly.
Well, having a supportive wife, I mean, really in anything is important.
Yeah.
Running businesses, I tell everybody, I always preference, like, people will see, I've done the mail routes for over a decade. I've got this retail store now and these different things. And I'm like up front where people can view that.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, like, this doesn't happen without my wife having a stable job.
For sure.
And that's what's floated me through it all. And not only that, like 5 o'clock, my phone's not ringing, wondering where I'm at.
Yeah.
And when we were newly married, it was, hey, dude, I just work all the time. And you got to be okay with that. And like, I never get phone calls wondering when I'm going to be home or when I'm done with work.
Yeah.
And she knows that when I'm home, I'm done with work.
Right.
And so I don't really get blown up that much. And that's a huge thing for me because I wouldn't be able to focus on, I'm getting pulled multiple ways every day, and being able to have that focus on what I'm doing and not answering my phone every 10 minutes at 5 o'clock.
Sure.
Is a big thing. So that's why I was curious about where your wife was with it.
Yeah, I think the key is having that understanding up front, and communication is big, right? And I think one of the things that's big too is being present, which is always difficult to do when you're running your own business because you're always thinking about business and what you got to do next.
You're never off the clock.
Yeah. So, but I think that that's crucial. But yeah, when we were in the early stages of building our business, it was both of us working all the time. We just both worked together and always working, And
did you have like 1 daughter at the time, 2 daughters?
We didn't have any. So
you were just hammering it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when we started having kids, then she was just full-time mom.
Okay.
But she still helped a lot with, the spouses of our agents and just the relationship building there.
Yeah.
And so she was still involved.
That's cool.
But she just wasn't running the office at that point. We had other office managers that we hired to do that then.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you had, I'm going to back up a little bit now because it's got me on that again.
Yeah.
When you had, would you call it your agency? Is that what you call it?
Mm-hmm.
How many people were under you? Like how many, I don't know if you call them employees. Agents?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had about 1,100 licensed agents.
Wow.
And 26 branches.
Around the nation?
Yeah, mostly the West states. So we were Utah, Colorado, Nevada, Idaho, Arizona. We had a couple people back on the East Coast, out in Virginia, Oklahoma.
Wow.
So yeah, we had a few people spread out a little bit.
we
were down in Texas a little bit, and down in Dallas area.
I think about everything I got going in St. George. I couldn't imagine having all that.
Well, the good thing is, I mean, every office was independently owned and operated.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was actually offices I'd never even been to.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, they were hired on by someone else in my organization, and they got trained by someone else. And
okay.
So I mean, we talked, we saw each other at events and things like that, but I'd never been to their office.
You made me feel a little better.
Yeah. So I wasn't running. In fact, the bigger it got, the easier it was to run. So, for the most part.
Yeah. Well, I've got some talking points written down. We kind of talked about mentors, but in your life, I'm kind of cheating because I listened to your podcast with Jefferson Rogers a couple of times.
Yeah.
When it first came out, and then a couple days ago when I knew we were bumping up your podcast date to kind of prep me, but maybe talk about how mentors were important to you. I don't think you can have enough mentors. You can take a lot of different things from a lot of different people. I isolate myself. Like, people don't get this. Like, this is extremely hard for me to do because I am an introvert. A lot of people don't think I am, but I am.
Yeah.
Just what I do with business and relationships, I have to be that extrovert to be able to grow those things.
For sure.
So I keep my circles really tight, and I don't branch out a whole lot as far as personal. But maybe tell me a little bit, because it sounds like you've got a lot, and a lot of that was in your businesses that you've shadowed.
No, for sure. Well, good for you, by the way, for getting out of your comfort zone, because a lot of people aren't willing to do that. You know.
Yeah, this was hard, man. It was years before I did this.
And you just start. You know, people go, "What do I do?" You just start.
You start.
You know, you don't have to have all the answers, right? You just start moving. But if it's so many mentors, I've been very blessed early on in life to have, I mean, I would even call my parents, my dad, my mom, you know, just the early on, treat people well, work hard, you know, work ethics, everything, you know, be positive, positive attitude. So learning those things early on from them, grandparents, you know, teaching me the same type of stuff, having grandparents live through the Great Depression, you know. And so I would say those were mentors.
They support you in all these different business ventures and things you've done?
Initially, my mom and my dad both were like, "Be careful. You probably should go to school, get your degree." Okay. You know, so they weren't saying don't do it, but they weren't like, "Yeah, you should go do that."
Yeah.
You know, and then we started having a lot of success, and it helped. But my mom would still ask me, "You sure you're doing okay?" Right? and we were doing well. You know,
you're right.
We were making $500,000 plus.
We're doing good,
income.
Mom.
Yeah, Mom, we're good. We're right.
You're like, "How are you doing, Mom?"
Yeah, right. So it's kind of funny. I think that's probably somewhat natural. Like, are your kids really doing that good? And
yeah.
Like, you almost can't believe it because, you know, they saw me growing up as a little boy, you know?
Right.
So they were definitely mentors, all those types of people. I had some, you know, leaders through young men's and church that were good and spent their time to make me feel special, make me feel like an individual special, you know, very blessed that way. And those things were a really good foundation. And then when I went on my church mission, my mission president was a great mentor. I was an assistant to him for 7 months.
I think you said he was a business owner as well.
Yeah, or? Yeah. He owned a mortgage business, and I think he might have still owned it when he was on his mission, or maybe sold it. I can't remember for sure, but just
that background for sure.
Yeah, I'm 42. He was my age when he was on his mission with his family.
That's
so
awesome.
It tells you how well he was doing. You know, he did well, and in fact, he called me in February just to check in, see how he's doing. He goes, yeah, I was 42. And I was like, holy cow,
He says,
42. Yeah.
That's cool.
So anyway, he was very influential, and I mean, he still does consulting and stuff today. Business just helps, businesses build and grow. And so he was a big mentor. And then, when I got back from my mission, and found the financial firm that I went to work with, there were a couple mentors there. Art Williams was the founder of the company. He was definitely a mentor. I didn't know him personally, but heard his tapes and watched his videos and his speeches and his trainings. And then a guy named Brendan Merton, who I was direct to in the business. He was my direct trainer, who I saw often. He was definitely, just how to get your business going, how to think right, plug into the system, follow the system, develop a system. A guy named Chris Howard, who lives in Vegas. He was a former electrician in the company, making $1 million a year. Wow. And then a guy named Hector Lamarck was probably, arguably, my most influential, valuable mentor in that business. Hector, when I got involved, was, cash flowing $2.5-3 million a year in income, and had been free for years and years and years, and just had a massive organization. And that was just his financial business income. Who knows what else he's got, but he was just very good at training and developing on not just thinking, but how to do it. I mean, there's so many, in my opinion, businesses train on it's a lot of rah excitement, and I get it. I mean, 90% of winning is attitude and activity. I believe that. But if you don't know how to do it, what to say, how to say it, who do I call, how do you, get a list together. If you're in sales, you need to know how to prospect, how to do it, where to do it. I mean, today we have social media. How do you set up your social media? How do you prospect through that, right? How do you prospect face-to-face? All those things. How do you get referrals? And then how do you do an appointment? How do you do a presentation? What are the questions you need to ask? And so I memorized all that. How to overcome the most common objections customers and clients get you. I memorized it. I listened to his audios word for word. There was a set of about 12 cassette tapes I had back then, Hector Lamarck, and it was everything A to Z on how to do the business. And I just listened to those suckers till they wore out. I broke the tapes and had to order new tapes, for those who know what cassette tapes are.
Right. I was going to say
that.
Back
in the old days. But that was... That's how, and what was mind blowing to me, and as I'm this 22, 23, 24-year-old kid, and I am like doing better than these guys that have been in the business 5, 6, 7 years. And what I realized was because I was so damn coachable. I wasn't too cool. I wasn't like trying to do it my own way or trying to put my own style on it. I just mimicked Hector Lamarck. I mean, if I did a presentation, you would have thought it was Hector Lamarck giving the presentation.
Wow.
Different voice, but
yeah,
I just memorized it. And I did the same thing on my mission, and it becomes you. And I think if you're going to be super successful in a business, you got to be willing to put forth that time and energy to get really great. I wanted to be the Michael Jordan of my company.
Yeah.
I set out to do that, and we set the records, and we did that. And it's not, I don't think I'm more talented or skilled by any means, but when it comes to work ethic and discipline,
and it's a lot of things. I mean, people will be like, well, it's consistency, it's this. Yeah. And I'm like, well, it's all of those.
All of them.
As hard as it is to do all of those in one day, it's all of those.
It is.
And systems are important. That's one thing I'm getting crushed on right now is I've always just done the work. I've always taken care of it. But there's only so much time in a day to take care of everything.
Yeah.
And people will call me and it's always like, oh, I'm just so busy. Yeah. And I've said this before, but it's like, I'm trying to be productive. How productive are you being?
Exactly.
I'm always busy.
Right.
But am I getting stuff done?
Yeah. A question I'd constantly ask myself is, could my business run without me?
Yeah.
If I wasn't here, would it continue to run? Are my systems in place good enough to where I could plug a new person in and they could go from A to Z, get trained, know how to do it?
Yeah.
Whether I'm here or not.
Yeah, mine are not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know that.
Something to work on, right? Something to look at and see.
That's where I'm at right now, is trying to get that stuff in line. And it's years away, but I think about my son that's only 10 months old. And I think about, like, if something ever happened, would he be able to just step in and take this over? And that's what's kind of got me on that train of.
It's good.
And I've had, younger kids helping me out in the store and doing different things. And I've never looked at it that way. I'm like, well, he just makes holsters, or he sells, or he helps me move safes, or whatever it is. But I've never thought about, if I'm out of the situation, does it still function?
Yep.
And is that still an income for my family?
I would ask my agency all the time. I go, if I was gone tomorrow, would you all die off, or would you survive and thrive? If the answer is you would die off, you got work to do.
Yeah.
Right? So I would always ask myself that question. If my leader or leaders in the company all went away, would I continue to survive and thrive, or would I die off?
Yeah.
And that was a good way to determine if I was on the right track or not.
Yeah, and you got to be honest with yourself, and you got to be humble about it.
No.
And I'm very prideful, so that's hard for me to do, but
yeah, we all have our egos, right?
Yeah, it's just the truth.
Yeah. And an ego can be healthy, right? I mean, you can we all have them. And if you use it the right way.
Yeah.
And you want to be confident, but you want to be humbly confident. I don't know if that's a thing, but
sure. Well, I think humbly confident. Yeah. I think that's it.
Yeah.
You're huge into fitness. Anyone that's on video can tell that I'm not. If you follow Brandon, which you definitely should, you do a lot of videos of you running.
Yeah.
Why is that important to you? What's the knit? I mean, fitness and business, I feel like kind of go hand in hand, and my wife's not going to want to hear that because she's going to be like, why aren't you fit? But there's a lot of characteristics that can draw parallel lines. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So when we're talking, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, Primerica is kind of behind you. You're getting into this new stuff, but you still have those same itches that you need to get out and itch. And maybe that is, exercise and being fit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
No. Yeah. I mean, I think for me, fitness started way back in high school.
Okay.
And I was always a skinny kid, and wanted to put some muscle on and could never put the weight on, but I didn't like being the skinny weak kid. And so I always wanted a set of weights and just never had them until I think sophomore in high school. I finally got some old weights, and I think they were my cousin's old weights and just kind of hand-me-downs.
Sure.
So I set them up in my basement and started using those. And I can honestly say since that time, sophomore all the way till now, I've always worked out. And pretty much every day. And what started happening is I liked the results, so I started lifting, and how it is when you start lifting, you're not very fit. You can't lift very much, but but in the beginning, you start making some pretty good gains pretty early on. You can lift more weight, you get strong fast, especially when you're younger. And I really like that. I like getting my bench press up to, where I can start benching 135, then 155, 160, 170, 180, get to 2 plates. And
be able to lift your arms and flex your chest tomorrow.
Yeah. And I was always strong at curls, and so that was my thing, in high school. Anyway, but, I think that as I started to get that fitness, I've always remembered what it was like to be the skinny kid, and I will say this, when we initially started building our financial business, we got a little bit not overweight, but we got a little chubby. I still worked out, but I didn't pay attention to my diet was the problem. And, this happens to a lot of people, I think, where when you're young, you can eat whatever you want and just work it off. And so I always worked out, but I kept eating whatever I wanted. And when you're 25, 26, it changes. Right. So we got a little chubby there for a minute, myself and my wife my wife always looked great, but I was definitely, a little chubbier. But I remember that too. And I remember when I started to want to get kind of in shape again. And I think what actually happened is I went and saw the Ironman in 2010 here in St. George. Yeah. And I saw those athletes. And this was, even prior to that, I actually started to do, before that, so long ago, can't keep things straight. Watching Lance Armstrong win the Tour de France and multiple times, and just inspired me. So I got a road bike and started doing a lot of road biking and got pretty fit. And then I watched the Ironman in 2010 and thinking there's no way you could run 2.4 miles, bike 112, run a marathon at the end. That's insane, And I remember watching it when I was a kid, the Kona World Championships, and just thinking, that's like impossible. Right. Well, I went and it was in St. George, so I just went and watched it and watched the athletes, and I started looking at all these guys doing it. I'm going, they can do it. I can do this. Right. And prior to that time, I never would have thought that there's no way that's possible to go that distance, but that inspired me. Which we're, as human beings, we're like that, right? We put limits on ourselves. So I left that Ironman. Next morning I signed up for the next year.
Nice.
And then started to really, I never really swam. So I started swimming, and terrible swimmer.
I hear that's like one of the hardest parts.
It depends, some people are good at swimming.
That's true.
Yeah, it just depends what you're good at.
Were you on your swimming team or not?
No, yeah, I was not a swimmer. So swimming, the swimming part, I'm not a fast swimmer, but I got to where I could swim a long way, and it wasn't hard anymore.
Okay.
I could push it and still easy. I just got super fit.
Yeah.
So that next year came around, and I made a great time. Did 11 hours and 11 and a half hours. And I probably could have done it in 10 and a half. I played it pretty conservative because I wanted to finish.
Yeah.
And I got done, and I felt really, really, really good.
Like could have went faster.
Yeah. So anyway, so since all that, I just knew how much work it took to get fit, and I'd rather stay fit than lose it and have to get fit again. And the same thing with diet. Diet is most of it, unfortunately, because I love to eat.
So do I.
That's to me the toughest part of it all. But I can remind myself most of the time that nothing tastes as good as being fit feels.
There you go.
And I'm not perfect with my diet. I have a treat every day, pretty much. I'm not perfect, but I try to do.
Well, I think you can see the results.
Yeah, 80% of the time I try to be good, and I try to watch my calories. Don't go over. I eat about 3,000 calories a day, but I do run every day and lift every day.
I think my biggest problem is I'm always go from one thing to another till I finally get home.
Yeah.
And I mean, most days I probably haven't eaten anything. I've probably crushed a Monster. I've probably had a Mountain Dew, maybe a bottle of water.
So your body is used to being starved.
Yeah. And then I get home,
Yeah.
and if if we've made something or we grab something or whatever, then I just crush food until I go to bed.
Yep.
And I'm aware how unhealthy it is, but I don't have the self-discipline to. I think it's because I kick myself all day, keep going. By the time I get home, I just want to excel and just be mentally weak, I guess, if you want to put it that way.
I would argue you have the self-discipline. Otherwise, you wouldn't be working.
Well, so that's what I mean.
Right.
And so I know it's there. I just don't apply it to it.
Yeah. You just got to reprioritize if it's important to you, right?
Right.
If it's important to you, you'll make the time. For me, my working out is I do it first thing. I do it first thing. It's that important to me. I do not miss. Even if I'm going hunting really early, I'll get up and do 100 burpees before I go hunting. So if I'm going to leave at 4:30 a.m., I'll get up at 3:30 and do my burpees and get. I just to me, it's worth it. Now, if I'm actually out and I'm spiked out somewhere hunting, I won't. I'm usually working out because you're hiking and stuff. I don't do it then. But if I'm going out for the day or something, I always do. I get up and at least do like 100 burpees is my 10-minute workout. That is, if I'm for a crunch for time.
Yeah,
that's
not knock that out.
Not easy to do,
Yeah.
It's a good short workout that blasts your whole body.
Well, it seems to be a lot more important to me when October rolls around and I got to go hike in the mountains with a gun and a pack.
Right.
So that's not as fun. And I've realized every year as it goes on, I'm worse and worse and worse at doing it.
I don't know if have you ever read Can't Hurt Me, David Goggins' book?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I listened to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just apply that, right? you can make the time to do it, and because you're disciplined enough. It's just a matter of restructuring some stuff.
My wife and I, because she's fit, she exercises, she's does the half marathons. I don't know if she's done she signed up for a full marathon in San Francisco.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's like you cross the bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, and then it's that island.
Yeah.
And she did it on there, and it's a crazy elevation gain. And I believe she did a half, but she signed up for the full. And I think there was only like a dozen people that actually finished the full or something elevation. Like that. Yeah. They just weren't prepared for it.
Yep.
And so she's always been fit. She rock climbs, mountain bikes, road bikes, all of that.
Cool.
And so she looks at me and she's like, you have the mental capacity and the mental discipline to work 24 straight hours and get up and be ready for the next day.
Yep.
You could probably go run for 30 minutes and be fine.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, but I don't.
And it sucks at first.
Yeah, it's hard.
But within a couple weeks, you get like, oh, I got this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just those first initial, like I typically don't feel like working out in the morning, but I just go do it. Just 45 minutes of the gym, and I'll go run for 40 or whatever, or get on the bike for an hour or something. And
when I think I was on Jefferson's podcast right before you.
You
I
might
think
have
I
been.
was the one before you.
Okay.
And he was going through his physique training for
Yes.
his show.
Yeah.
And he was sitting there talking about it, and I'm just like, I know, dude, I need to go do something about it. And then and then I get off of there, I go home, and I probably had some cookies and milk and went to bed.
Yeah. Well, it's even like I like soda. Right? I like drink a Diet Dew or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I do like that. But if I will force myself to drink like 20 ounces of water or 10 ounces of water, I don't want the soda anymore. And so if you just drink the water, just instead of reaching for that soda, drink water. You'll be surprised at how much less soda you'll start drinking, Monsters or whatever. That's because that stuff is wrecking you. Inside.
I know, dude.
And I do it too.
Monsters are bad.
Yeah.
Well, they're good. They taste great.
And you feel good sometimes when you drink one.
My problem with the Monsters is I'll get to where like I'm hitting one in the mornings. Like I get to my store, I've got them there in my fridge, so I'll hit one in the morning, and then that works for a couple months, say, and then I'm like, man, I'm starting to get tired about 2:00. So there's times I'll hit a second one, and then I'll realize I've gone like a week and I've had 2 every day, and I'm like, okay, this has got to stop.
Yes.
And then I usually will go off for like a couple of weeks until it actually starts phasing me when I drink one again.
Yep.
And I worked for the post office for years, my own contracts, but I was also an actual mailman for people that are around here by San Hollow, out in Dixie Springs.
Yep.
And that's how it was. I was doing 8-10 hours a day, running my butt off most of the time, didn't take a lunch to try and get the route done. And I'm just crushing Monsters. And I would start to realize like they're not helping me.
Yeah.
And then I would go off of them for a month and then go back on them because then it started feeling it again.
Yeah.
And
your body thinks you're starving.
Yeah.
So you retain fat because your body thinks it's starving, right?
Exactly.
And you don't feel like you're starving because you're hyped up on caffeine, right? But
and you're taking your calories from drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a guy tell me that one time. He's like, wouldn't you rather eat your calories instead of drink them? I guess I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah. It's easier to drink them.
Yeah.
It's faster.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you've done a ton of hunts, and I'm super envious of that. But what's your favorite one that you've done? Can we talk about maybe favorite 1, 2, 3 that you've done?
Yeah, for sure. It's hard to pick a favorite. So yeah, but I can talk about a few. My favorite thing to do when it comes to hunting is calling coyotes. That's my favorite.
Really?
It is.
You'll have to take me sometime because I'm not sure they exist. I've spent a lot of money and time on a hillside.
It's been a tough couple of years. I think they're kind of on a down cycle right now, and I think a lot of guys are using thermals at night a lot.
Okay.
And I think that's messing up the daytime calling, and I like the daytime call. I mean, thermals are fun too, but I love the day when they're coming into a call. It's just my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, if all I could ever do again was coyote hunt, I'd be okay with that.
You'd be fine.
I actually would, but I do like to do, I mean, I'm glad I don't have to just do that because I do like to get out in the backcountry, get a pack on with a bow or a rifle and get out and hunt, So, I've done, I mean, gosh, just your deer hunts and elk hunts are always fun. Alaska, I love going to Alaska. Obviously just got back from Kodiak this year. Last year I was up in the Alaskan range hunting Dall sheep. And I got a nice Dall sheep last year. That was my second time out for Dall sheep.
Nice.
But sheep hunting is just fun. It's just, I think it's a challenge. Those sheep live in the tops of the mountains.
That's what I was going to say.
And Alaska is just, you're out there and you're on your own. You're living off your back and there's no getting out of there until, you're ready to get out. So,
because they like helicopter or plane you in?
So they fly you in on an airplane. So in Alaska, it's actually not legal to use a helicopter to hunt.
Okay.
So if you use a helicopter in any way, shape, or form, your hunt is done.
Okay.
Unless it was that bison hunt. That bison's different because it's not a regulated hunt. It's
okay. I was going to say, dude, I think you just got yourself in trouble.
Yeah, it's more of a native deal on that one.
Okay.
So that's an exception. But now in Canada, you can use helicopters. So a lot of guys like to go to Canada for sheep because they can actually use a helicopter to get it out sometimes. But what I love about Alaska, they drop you off at a landing strip and you're off and you're sometimes miles back in. This last year, the outfitter that we were with, It's the second time we've been with this outfitter. He's got some really nice outpost camps built up. He actually has these little cabins built.
Oh, nice.
So we were actually able to stay in a cabin before there's a landing strip right by it. You stay in this little cabin. And then he's got those 6x6 side-by-sides.
Yep.
Hopped in one of those, drove way up a canyon, just started glassing. We were seeing sheep all over, bears everywhere, moose, caribou.
Dang.
And just animals everywhere, And it's just an adventure.
Yeah.
And we got there 2 days before opening day, spotted a few rams, kind of got an idea, spotted one that I ended up killing way up on the mountain, and just decided, we're going to keep an eye on him and see where he is. And so the next day, which is the day before opening day, we just kind of went out and camped out on him, and we were probably 1.5 miles away from him, but we just glassed him and watched him all day.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't dare go any further up the canyon because we didn't want to spook him, because those sheep can see so good, and there's really no cover on that whole face of the mountain. So the next day was opening day. So it still took us 2.5 days to, find him. And then opening day, there's no guarantee. So we go to bed the night before, wake up opening morning, peek our head out the tent because we don't want to spook him. And we purposely camped behind some brush so that he couldn't see us. We look up over the brush, start glassing, and he's right above camp. He's way up on the mountain, but he's right above camp. Like, okay, so there he is. Let's get closer. And you got to make sure they're legal. So when you're that far away, you can't 100% tell if they're legal. So you got to get close enough to be able to tell. And they've got to either be a full curl.
That's what I was going to say.
Or 8 years old in Alaska, or double broomed.
How do you tell if it's 8 years old?
The rings. So they've got rings
on
their
the horn. Okay.
Yes. So you got to be close enough to see the rings.
Yeah.
And you got to have good optics. So anyway, we still weren't sure he was legal, but he looked like a good ram. So we started making our way up the mountain, and it took us a few hours to get into position because he's clear up in the cliffs, and we had to sneak up around, get the wind right. And we got within about 450 yards, and we're studying him, making sure he was legal, and had some snow coming in and rain. We're sitting there on this cliff, and it's cliffy, and we're just sitting there hunkered down while this storm's coming in, trying to get a good idea. And we go, okay, he's legal. So now we just got to get a shot off at him. And I was able to kind of climb up. We were sitting on a ledge, and down below us was the camp, and he was kind of up here on the hill. And there was a little shelf I could kind of get up on and get set up on with my rifle. So I just got up there and popped up there and dialed in my scope and gave it was pretty windy, so I had to give it a bit of wind and shot and dropped him, and it was so steep, that he rolled about 100 yards. Just you fell off about 10 foot.
So after you get your shot, then you still got to get to it.
Then you got to get to it. So we still had to, and it was straight up. But it's so cool. You get up to that animal and you go, man, this ended up being an 11.5-year-old ram. And
wow.
I think they only lived at 12 maybe 13. I've heard of a couple. Supposedly there was like a 13.5-year-old killed this last year, but I don't think that's very common.
Yeah.
So it's a good feeling when you killed a good mature animal. They're at the end of their life. They've lived a really good life, and it's great meat. Really good meat. Anyway, so that was a fun hunt.
That sounds awesome.
And
that's like some meat eater stuff right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an adventure. It's the hunt is the adventure. It's all part of it, right? And going with an outfitter, you learn a lot. This kid that I've gone with, his name's Leopold, actually is his name.
Oh, cool.
And I went with him 5 years prior, and a tough guy, man. He's like 6'6", skinny as a rail, but that dude can hike and carry a couple 100 pounds on his back. Just a tough kid. And he's from France, actually. But anyway, 5 years prior to that, we went in a different area, landed at a landing strip, and then we had to hike in about 10 miles, and it was brutal. I had to cross about 10 different rivers, and
wow,
those river crossings can be little tedious. That's the part I hate the worst about hunting in Alaska, is crossing those, especially the bigger rivers, because they're a little spooky. They can take you in, but so we got in about 10 miles and got into where we knew some sheep were. And what happened on that one was we got there, and it was the day before opening day when we finally got up there, and this storm came in and just rained. We couldn't go anywhere. We just had to sit in the tent. So it was myself, him, and a packer, 3 of us in a 2-man tent, and we just had to wait in that tent for all day.
It was probably warm.
Yeah. Luckily, it was only one day.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's 2, 3, 4 days, right? And you're stuck in this little tent. You can't go anywhere. It's just, there's no sense getting out because you can't see anything.
Yeah, no burpees, nothing.
Yeah. You're just sitting. So anyway, the next day was opening day. We had an idea where some sheep were up above where we spiked out. And anyway, we got up to those sheep later that day, and there were 6 of them, and we were within like 30 yards. This is all on YouTube, actually. You can look it up. And
what is it on YouTube?
it's just under my channel.
Okay.
Brandon Neal, you can find it on there. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to.
Yeah, there's the one I did last year, and then there's a highlight reel of 2015.
You just GoProing it?
Usually I use my iPhone, and then
okay.
I got a little tiny 4K camera, super light, nothing too fancy, but it
That's
works.
Cool.
Yeah, it's light, so you can pack it around. But anyway, we got up to those sheep, and just none of them were legal. They weren't big enough. Earlier that day, we saw a big caribou, and I liked the caribou. I said, well, if these sheep aren't going to work out, let's go kill that caribou. So we circled around the mountain, came back into the valley where we were camped, started glassing to find the caribou we saw earlier that day, glassed him up, and we looked to the right of him, and there's a brown bear that's kind of stalking the caribou.
Mm.
So we go, let's go get that brown bear. So we bail off the mountain as fast as we can and get down, and we're way up there, So we get down to the bottom, huffing and puffing, get up over this rise, and I get down on my belly, and that bear's coming straight at us. It was really cool, about 450 yards. So shot him and got the bear, and then went up to the bear. Cool, we got the bear. Cool, let's go get the caribou too. So we got the bear, and then the caribou. About an hour later, found the caribou, and we were able to get the caribou too. So harvested both of those in the same day.
Dang.
Then we had to pack them out 10 miles.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it was brutal.
That's the worst part.
And we're not talking 10 miles flat. We're talking 10 miles on V-shaped canyons. You got to walk on the side, down in the river, and in the willows, But yeah, it was brutal getting out of there.
I bet.
Again, an adventure and something you always remember.
Good thing you had a third person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's some of the Alaska hunts, and then you do some easier hunts. We did a antelope hunt a couple weeks ago in New Mexico, and just went out in half a day. We were done out there. We glassed up some good goats out there, and that was fun.
I think bear's my bucket list is bear.
Yeah.
Ryan Knapp, who I'm probably going to have on here. I don't know. Do you know Ryan?
Oh yeah, we hunt all the time. In fact, he was with me on the antelope hunt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he does the bear one every year up in Canada.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to him, and we're doing dinners with Brent Skinner.
Yep.
And we sat next to him, and he started telling us about it. And I'm like, man, I think that's my dream hunt.
Oh.
And he's like, oh, we go every year. And I was like, well, what is it? And so we start talking about it. So he gets me all juiced up on it. And then he's like, well, dude, they shut the border down. So
yeah. Yeah. You can go now if you want to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
But that is a good hunt, because you go in, you stay in a lodge, they feed you really good. You go out in the evenings, sit on bait.
Yeah.
And the bears are right there.
Yeah. He was like, how we see deer here is how you see bear out there.
It's
and
cool.
I was like, man, that's bananas.
Yeah. Canada is really cool.
I mean, I've been around. So we went in the Tetons, just camping with my in-laws, and this bear, so there's bear everywhere up there. I mean, we drove by them. They're on the streets. They're playing through the fields, everything. And we were just what I like to call the primitive camp, because I'm more of a glamper in my camper, right?
Yep.
And so we're in tents and everything. And they all went mountain biking, I believe. My father-in-law went into town, and it was just my mother-in-law and I. So she's, I don't know, 100 pounds soaking wet, No, I guess I won't say her age on the podcast. But we're hanging out. She's in a hammock, like half asleep. And I don't know what I was doing, sitting in a chair, just chilling by the fire, I guess. And the camp next to us starts yelling bear. And so I kind of like perk up, and I'm looking around, and I don't see anything. And then the camp on the other side of us started yelling bear. Well, then my mother-in-law like jumps out of the hammock, and she's looking around, and it's not 20 yards from her, just walking through all their camps.
And they're stealthy quiet.
Oh yeah. I mean,
you can't hear
them. Because it was big. Yeah. Other than that, you'd never know it was there.
Yep.
And so it gets probably 10 yards from us. And And I'm like standing behind her, right? I'm like, what do we do? What do we do? And so she starts screaming, like, she's like, here, I've got a video of it. It's kind of cool. She's like, here, bear, clapping her hands and making a bunch of noise. And it ends up walking through our camp, like past all of our tents and everything. And it probably gets like 15 feet. It was probably the closest it got to us, but it was clearly like trying to get out of there. Like didn't know what way to go to leave.
Yeah.
And I've got video of all of it, and my mother-in-law clapping at it and everything. And then it ends up taking off. And the Rangers came over and, hey, what happened? You know, trying to kind of document what happened and what it was. And it was a black bear. And they were saying, well, there's a black bear here. There's 2 over on this other side. But on the other side of camp, on the other side of the lake, there's a grizzly over there. And so they're like, we just wanted to make sure it wasn't the grizzly. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, thanks a lot. Yeah. Like if it was a grizzly, one of us would probably be dead.
Yeah. The problem in Wyoming right now is the grizzlies, they're not afraid of humans because you can't hunt them. Mm. So what'll happen up there, I hunted deer up there a couple of years ago, and I wasn't in grizzly country too much, but if you go further north up around Cody and that, there's a bunch of grizzlies up there. And so the elk hunters, when they shoot an elk, that shot is like a dinner bell. Ah. So they'll come to the shot because they know something's dying.
Jeez.
Yeah. So it's you know, they really need to let them be hunted. They need to be managed up there.
Yeah.
Just to give them some healthy fear, keep people safe, because I think every year there's a few people that get eaten.
Snatched up.
Yeah. So if you see a grizzly in Alaska, they're usually more afraid of you than a grizzly in, say, Wyoming.
And they're probably bigger in Alaska.
Sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes. The one I killed wasn't very big. It's just a mountain grizzly, so not real big. It just depends. I mean, there's the brown bears on the peninsula and all that, which they're technically the same species, but they just get a lot bigger when they're on the peninsula or Kodiak because they're eating all the fish. And they're the ones that get up to like 9 foot, 10 foot bears. They get huge. But yeah, I think there's some in Wyoming that are probably 8 or 9 footers. I'm sure.
Have you done cougar or anything like that?
I was calling coyotes one day and had a lion come in.
A cat come in.
And had to shoot it, actually. It was actually coming on top. It was about to pounce on me. And
maybe I don't want to go calling with
you,
man.
Yeah, it was
I'm scared of jungle cats, man.
It was a weird deal. So I was by myself. Unfortunately, I had my shotgun on my right, and I just had my gun, and I was calling. There was a coyote coming in. And I could see something out of the corner of my eye to the right, and thought, oh, here comes another coyote. So I turn, and it's a cat just coming up to me.
Gosh.
And so I just pull up my shotgun and shoot it, and it died within 7 yards of me. Yeah, I had to shoot it right in the chest, and it was a younger cat, and it was in Arizona. And in Arizona, you can get a tag, but I didn't have a tag, so I just had to turn it in and just self-defense. You know,
yeah.
They wouldn't let me keep it, but yeah.
That's crazy.
So I called one. Yeah, so.
Like I see those boys that run dogs down in the Arizona Strip or wherever they're at.
Yeah, Jared Higgins around here, he runs dogs and stuff. And
yeah.
I've never been with him, but one of these days I'd like to get out there and do that too.
Yeah, those videos, and I'm like a lot of the fear would be gone from me at that point if you got dogs chasing them, I think.
Yeah.
But dude, I'm terrified of them.
Yeah. Well, see, we're going to Mexico next month. I think I told you, for the elk.
Yeah.
And you can shoot them down there on if you see them, and they want to because they decimate the cattle and everything else, and there's not enough guys to manage them.
Got you.
Coyotes down there are all over too, so maybe we'll get lucky and see a lion down there too, and there's leopards down there too. And I'm pretty sure the leopards are illegal to kill, but they're mean looking. The leopards.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, big old heads and.
I've got a whole list of stuff, but I figured we'd kind of start wrapping up. I wanted to ask, what's your favorite caliber to shoot? What are you taking all these animals with? Do you have one or a plethora?
That's the $1 million question, right? Everybody's got this is the best one.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so I'll say this. I love a 7 mag for big game.
Okay.
I think it's hard to beat a 7 mag, but it's not what I use. And it's what I used to use all the time. What I've migrated more to is smaller calibers with bullets that are they're a full copper bullet.
Okay.
So monolithic bullets is what they're called, and so I'll shoot for a lot of my big game stuff. I'll use a 6.5 PRC.
Okay.
I know a lot of guys like the 6.5 Creedmoor. And
Well, I love that because that's what I just got last year.
yeah,
So.
and they shoot really good. They're a little slow, but they guys use them. I mean, I don't know that I would use them for an elk past 500 yards. You could, guys do.
Yeah.
But I use a 6.5 PRC, so same bullet, but it's a Magnum. So that's what I kill those bison with.
Okay.
So it's a smaller bullet. The recoil's more manageable. So, if you were to miss, you can get a better idea on your follow-up shot, if you're by yourself. So I'll use a 6.5 PRC for a lot of stuff, but I actually also have a 6. I like a 6 Creedmoor as well, but I actually have a 6 that is it's called a 6 competition match. And it's basically a 243 with a not as steep of a shoulder, and so it fits some more powder.
Okay.
And it just shoots, so I shoot a 110 grain bullet out of that.
Okay.
At like 3,200 feet a second. That's what I killed an antelope with a couple months ago, or a month ago, whenever that was. And I'm going to use that for deer this year, and it'd work for elk too.
Do you load it all? Do you do all that?
I do. Okay. Yeah, I do. So I'm a big proponent of the 6.5 and 6s now with these bullets they have today, just because the recoil is manageable and you can kill anything with them for the most part in North America. If I was going to go for a big brown bear, I think a 30 caliber is going to be a better way to go. But other than that, a 7 mag is just, everything's trying to be a 7 mag in my opinion. Like a 6.5 PRC is trying to be a 7 mag is definitely going to give you more energy because you can shoot a bigger bullet. Mm-hmm. But when you look at everything put together, all the factors of the recoil, and again, you use a good bullet. I'm liking the short action, smaller caliber bullets.
Yeah.
They still perform really well.
Justin, that I go hunting with a lot, I've been trying to get him on here, but I don't think he'll ever get on here. He's too shy. He's 7mm everything. Yeah. And then he was actually looking at this 6.5 PRC. It's the Christensen arms, the carbon fiber, everything.
Yep.
And he was looking at it and talking about it. And then I went down and bought it. And so now I have it.
So you got a 6.5 PRC too.
Yeah.
Good.
And so he's got the 7, I got the 6.5.
Yeah.
And so I know he's going to be happy to hear that 7's the way to go, because he keeps on telling me that, even though I bought the gun he wanted.
Well, I if I had to choose between the two, I'd probably choose a 6.5 PRC.
No, there you go, Justin, suck it.
Yeah, I probably would. But I mean, another good thing about a 7 mag is you can find ammo anywhere. So if you do end up going to hunt in another country, you're more likely to be able to find 7 mag versus 6.5 PRC. Especially right now, it's impossible to find a 6.5 PRC right now.
I'm buying every box you can find.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Napa like you, because he loves his 6.5 Creedmoors.
Yeah.
So, and 6.5 Creedmoor, we use a lot of those for our long range shooting schools that we do.
Okay.
We use a lot of those. Yeah, they shoot really good. I mean, you can't argue that. I just like a little faster.
Yeah, I'm partial to the AR platform, everything.
Yeah.
And so it was hard getting me off of the AR platform and then onto this bolt gun.
Sure.
And I know the bolt gun's kind of the way to go. And you're light, and you're all these things, but man, I do like my AR platforms.
You know what? I usually use bolt. I usually use bolt for coyotes too, but I'm using my AR. I think mostly this year. I built up an AR. I'm going to use a lot this year for coyotes.
Yeah.
They make a lot of sense for coyotes, I think.
Well, we did. I mean, I've got the 223, and then I'm suppressed, so I've suppressed around 223.
Yep.
And
Makes
then
it nice.
300 blackout suppressed.
Cool.
And that's we've taken deer with it, and that's my gun.
Isn't that awesome? Gun. You just go out there and you don't hear. I got to show you the shot that I made on that antelope. You can just hear the out of the gun, and
Every time we go shooting with people that aren't super familiar with guns, I'll bring that and we'll go subsonic on the bullets, and it just blows people's mind.
Sounds like a pellet gun. Hear the action cycle. That's about it.
Yeah, they're like, this is Hollywood.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is quieter than Hollywood.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. It's so stupid, the regulations on suppressors. It should be mandatory to use a suppressor.
Seriously.
Right? Mandate suppressors.
When you go shoot with people that don't have them, I forget. So I'll go shoot with some and everyone got your ears on, and I'm like, oh gosh, you're one of those guys.
Well, that's the only thing I'm not excited about Mexico is they're illegal down there, so I got to use a brake. So I'm like, it's the only thing I like, because if I see coyote, I don't want to be shooting coyotes with a stinking brake on.
Yeah,
blow my eardrums out every time I see a coyote. So, but yeah, you do what you got to do.
All right, man. Well, I think we wrap this up. We're about time, so I really appreciate you coming. I've had a blast.
Yeah, me too.
I hope that our introduction will bloom into a friendship, and I think it
For
will.
sure.
I think we get along pretty good in the last hour. So
For sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. I appreciate having me on. Good to be here with you. And yeah, anybody wants to check this stuff out, we're happy to help you out in any way I can. And
yeah, I appreciate that.
else, yeah.
So people want to follow you. It's Brandon Neal on.
So you can do Valor Outdoor Adventures is
Okay.
is Instagram for Valor Outdoor Adventures. It's Valor Adventures is the company, but that's the and we're the way that works is Rolling Bones is the parent company, and
Sure.
then Valor Adventures is my agency within that company. But it's the
Okay.
same hunts, same deals, same membership.
And I went on and found it. It's not hard.
Not
Type in
hard.
Valor and it popped up.
Yeah.
So
And then the Real B Neal is my other account.
And that's your
Real B
personal
Neal.
account.
Yep. And yeah, so then I'm on Facebook and valoradventures.com for our website. So people can go on there, and if they want to just direct message me or whatever, we can do a one-on-one Zoom appointment with them. And
great.
yeah, we got great advisors, as you know. Brandon Armstrong, one of our great advisors.
I was just going to say, if anyone's interested in this stuff, it's not hard to reach out to you or Brandon Armstrong.
Correct. Yeah.
And it's no pressure. It's no, I mean, you guys are just,
it's hunting.
Well, and like we've just talked through the whole first of this, you're just there to get someone on a hunt that's going to fit them, fit the personality, fit everything, and be a vetted outfitter and everything.
Yeah, and if somebody thinks they got to have a bunch of money to book hunts, it's not true.
It's not true.
We help people with application services too. So if you want to draw tags, you need to get on our application service.
Yep.
Our membership's $150 a year. We do unlimited states,
And it's unlimited.
species. Yeah,
And
so it's
maybe we'll have to do this again and maybe bring Brandon Armstrong in and we'll do the three of us, but
we should.
And just do a Rolling Bones podcast because there's so much to cover on all that and what you guys can offer people. But if you're interested, which I was, that's what got me into it all is, look these guys up. Brandon Armstrong as well. I think it's just Brandon Armstrong's his handle,
so.
but
Yep.
Look them up, message them, any questions. The website, you can kind of skim through the website. Yeah.
For sure.
All right, man. Well, make sure you guys share some of this stuff. Make sure you rate us 5-star. I'm not an Apple guy, so I don't know how all that works, but we try to bring different personalities, different roads, different pathways, different people on all of here to kind of broaden who we're going to touch so we can kind of reach out to everybody. Brandon Neal, like I said in the beginning, was kind of that was more for me than I think everyone else, but I'm sure there's people that'll gain something from it, and the hunting thing just blows my mind. So thanks for being here. Thanks for following us. Thanks for the last hour and a half, and we'll see you guys next week.